2017. We'll begin with the salute to the flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Especially the old, right?
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Here.
Mr. Bransky?
Here.
Mr. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Dix? Mr. Rocco?
Okay. Let's see, just a change to our agenda for this evening for people that, maybe didn't see it on the Facebook or post that the township put up. Earlier this afternoon, the YMCA contacted the township and indicated that they would not be presenting this evening. They are apparently still working on their plan. And so that's, obviously it's their choice. They haven't submitted anything formally to us, and so they're not under any time constraints in terms of when they have to get things done. When they decide to come and present, they come and present. So, I understand some people were probably going to be here this evening to see the plan and to speak about it. Obviously, you're still welcome to speak if you want to, but I don't know. Presumably, they'll be back next month. I don't know. It's probably the third month, I guess, that they've, right? Third time. I think they're supposed to be here in June and July. So, okay, whatever. So.
I'm actually the attorney for
Okay.
YMCA.
Okay.
Jennifer Wonder with Fox Rothschild. Just want to give a brief update. We're just finalizing the plans. We've been working with our architect to make sure we get the building layout exactly the way that we want and consistent with the architect renderings and footprint. So before presenting to you, we want to make sure that the sketch plan is as it should be, and we're expecting to be back next month, hopefully.
Okay.
Thank you
for the update.
Yep.
Appreciate it. All right, we do have a couple names on our sign-in sheet. Tony Batista.
Good evening. Tony Batiste, 218 Gloucester Road. I do not live next to the YMCA. I do not live next to the pool and the old Fairless Hills Medical Center where they want to put the YMCA. But right now it is home to a lot of deer, and I used to see them when I went to work at 4 in the morning. I don't see them anymore. But that's mostly because I don't go to work at 4 in the morning anymore. But I do know they're still there.
Oh, they're still there.
They're still there. But this land is designated open space, and it's residential neighborhood conservation. None of that is meant to be a building with parking lots. And they say that they need the new building because the old one isn't big enough and there's not enough parking. But if you look at how big that old one is, now imagine that in that spot next to the pool. That means all those trees are gone. So where's the wildlife going? I don't know. And I would kind of be interesting if the lawyer's here, if she would know, has the county actually officially given rental approval?
I'm not really licensed to
Yeah.
speak about it today, but we will be back next month to talk about it and give a presentation to the board and the public.
Okay. Because I did invite one of the commissioners to be here this evening, and so far I don't believe she's here.
Well, she contacted me earlier, and I did let her know that they were off the agenda tonight.
Okay.
So I had found that out.
Okay, so then I will send her back an apology. But it's just destroying the idea of open space if we're going to build on it. Why do we even have open space if we're going to build on it? And it's not because, okay, the Y is recreational. Well, so is LA Fitness. So is it okay if they build there? So is the Sheraton. They have a pool, and they have membership to that pool and a workout place. And the other thing is, I believe the YMCA is nonprofit. So do we actually get taxes for nonprofit organizations if they have a building?
It's actually a question I asked our solicitor a few hours ago to try and see. He's going to be looking into that, actually.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to try and do my best with this. Beth Ann delay? Never mind, okay.
Got the next one too.
Okay, I'll do that too. All right. All right. So was the only name, I guess, or the only names that were on the list. Does anybody else wish to speak or not? Okay. All right, we will move on then with our next agenda item, which is Sylvie Concrete, amended final plan. This is 355 Newbold Road. Mr. Gray?
Yes, the applicant is proposing improvements consisting of additional parking spaces and relocation of the entrance driveway on Newbold Road. Tonight, representing the applicant is Mr. Bob Jordan.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Robert Jordan. I'm with Woodrow & Associates, here on behalf of Sylvie Concrete. As mentioned, we're here tonight seeking an amended final plan approval for some work that is going on our site right now currently. Basically, the plan as it was originally approved was approved back in 2008. It was shelved for a period of time due to the economy. Since then, early part of last year and the beginning of this year, they started construction on the building addition and some parking associated with the original land development plan in this area. They contracted us to take a look at relocating the access drive to the plant, as well as providing some additional parking spaces in this area here that are different from the approved plan. And in order to do that, we needed to seek the amended plan approval. We actually have more spaces than what were originally proposed and a decrease in impervious surface over what's there today. We are in receipt of Jim Sullivan's review letter dated July 31st, and most of the items are will-comply items, with the exception of the 5 waivers. Not sure if they were memorialized with the last application or not, but we'd be happy to talk about them if you guys wanted to. Does anybody have any questions about the waivers? Or?
They're pretty standard waivers, I think, for this kind of project. Comments or questions for Mr. Jordan?
No questions.
No questions. No? Okay. Mr. Sullivan, anything from you?
You were going to apply for a PennDOT HOP at this time?
Yes.
They're aware of the improvements you're trying to make in front of the site,
Yes.
and there are improvements within their right-of-way that have to be bonded with PennDOT, is that correct?
Correct.
So the township will have to work that in the development agreement where the township is not responsible for those improvements once they're complete.
Okay.
That's all I have.
No objections.
Okay. All right. Any public comment? See no hands. All right. So this is Resolution 1721, which is just amending the previously passed final plan, granting the waivers as outlined in the resolution. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 1721?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, next item on the agenda is MLH Explorations, final land development. This is 150 Roebling Road. This is inside the KIPC.
Good evening again. Jennifer Wunder on behalf of the applicant MLH 150 Roebling LLC. We're here tonight seeking preliminary final land development approval. With me is Rachel Butch from R.L. Showalter Associates, who is our project engineer, as well as David Clapper from the applicant, who can provide any information and answer any questions relating to the operations of the project. The property is the former U.S. Steel site. It's approximately 32 acres, zoned MPM. We're proposing to construct 2 medical marijuana grower processor facilities on the property. This use is permitted by special exception in the MPM district, which we obtained back in April of this year. The project consists of 2 separate and distinct facilities in separate buildings, each of which consist of a greenhouse and a head house. After obtaining the zoning approval for a special exception, we submitted a sketch plan in May of this year, and appeared in front of the Planning Commission on the sketch plan. After presenting to the Planning Commission and obtaining some comments, we submitted our land development plans, went back in front of the Planning Commission and obtained their recommendation for preliminary final approval. We submitted revised plans on July 19th, incorporating the comments from the Township consultant review letters. And I'll have Rachel come up here and discuss our requested waivers and just give a brief presentation on the plan.
Thank you. Hello. So as Jen said, it's a 32-acre parcel divided into 2 portions for 2 different tenants. The site currently has the old infrastructure from the AE Poly silicone facility, and that is basically everything above ground is being completely demoed and will be replaced with the new building and infrastructure related to the new building. Some of the utilities will remain that is not feasible or practical to remove, and we'll be tying into some of the existing infrastructure that's there for U.S. Steel, and we've coordinated with them, to make all those connections. The allowable impervious is 80%. And the existing is at 32%, and we're actually going to be decreasing the impervious on the site down to 21%. So we're significantly reducing the impervious coverage and increasing the green space on the property. The parking is based on employee counts, and we have sufficient parking. We had no problem fitting that in on the site, and providing 25-foot drive aisles to circulate the trucks and cars that need to access the building. Let's see, the stormwater, since we're actually reducing the impervious, we were able to model the existing basins, taking into account the current stormwater ordinances and the reduced impervious, and we're proposing some minor modifications to the existing basins, modify the outlet structure, but the existing basins are more than sufficient to ensure that we're not increasing the peak flows off the property. That's pretty much it for the details of the design. Should I go through the waivers, or any questions about that?
I think the waivers are pretty much the standard ones we give for projects inside the industrial parks, requiring curbing and planting beds and street trees, things of that nature, which obviously in a former steel mill site, it doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense to do that. So I don't have any issues with any of the waivers. I think anybody else has either. Mr. Sullivan, anything from you?
Not at this time.
Obviously, and I'm not sure if Ms. Bush or Mrs. Wonder or Mr. Clapper want to address this. This is obviously a new kind of operation for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, certainly for us. So for the people out there who are wondering exactly what is going to be happening on this site, traffic coming in, traffic going out, issues of security, what's literally going on. I don't know who can speak to that.
Yeah, David, why don't you come up and give kind of hand by this plan?
Sure.
Give an overview.
Yep. Good evening.
Evening.
Just to give quick background on our operations, as you're all probably aware, there's been the medical marijuana bill that was passed a little over a year ago in Pennsylvania. And at that time, there was a special chapter that was created called Chapter 20, where certain groups could partner with some of the academic medical schools in Pennsylvania to receive potential licenses. And that's the applicant that we are. It's called a clinical registrant application. We're partnered with Jefferson University Health System down in Philadelphia. So there have been 12 growers and processors that have been licensed so far in Pennsylvania. They're considered the commercial growers and processors, not part of the clinical registrants that are partnered with the academic medical schools. We have not yet been licensed. And there were, I believe, 26 dispensaries that were also licensed at this point. So we're still in the application process, working with the state as they're finalizing the regulations for our program. What we expect to be issued when we receive our license, which we're hoping happens in September, would be a license for a growing and processing facility, which is what would be located out here. And then we would also be able to have 6 dispensary locations that would be spread elsewhere throughout the Commonwealth. The reason we were attracted to the site out here is it's a location that has some security already because of the U.S. Steel, former U.S. Steel facility. It also has plenty of land where we can expand. We're hoping at some point that we'll come in and ask for approval to expand our footprint. It also has power and utilities that are readily accessible and can service what we need. So what we're going to be creating out here is a state-of-the-art facility that starts with a greenhouse where the actual marijuana is grown. And when we say a greenhouse, it's not what you traditionally think of as a greenhouse. This will be a building that has steel sides that go up about 12 feet, has an opaque roof to help let in the sunlight to reduce the energy use and the electricity costs. In the building itself, in the greenhouse portion of the building, there will be medical marijuana that will be grown. It'll be grown from, it's called mother plants that are kept in one room, and you do cuttings just like you would with other poinsettias or other plants. We have 2 horticulturalists that have degrees. One is currently working in he manages a 110-acre greenhouse that does bedding plants. Our other grower has extensive experience out in Colorado with medical marijuana. So the 2 of them are going to be coming in and growing for us and hiring a team that's going to grow the medical marijuana. And then in Pennsylvania, it has to all be processed. So on site, there has to be a facility that also processes it. And that's typically done through, this is using carbon dioxide, where it takes the cannabinoids out of the plant. It's the parts of the plant that have the chemicals that actually help people from a medicinal perspective. So it's processed into oils that can be turned into tinctures or gel caps or other forms, pills, other forms in which people would take the medical marijuana. On our site specifically, we have very specific requirements related to security. The whole area will be fenced in, very electronic in terms of access, entry codes for anybody that's coming in and out of the building, cameras that are operating continuously, and you have to continuously monitor the security. There will not be we've done a traffic study, but there was not it's not a dispensary location, so we won't have the retail public coming in and out. We ourselves have to operate the transportation to our dispensary locations. Those happen in secure vehicles that will come inside of our fenced-in area, pull inside our actual building where the processing is occurring, and they will be loaded, and then they'll leave periodically to deliver the product to the dispensaries. So there's not significant traffic coming in and out. There will be deliveries of soil and fertilizers and that sort of thing. The one other thing that made the site of great interest to us is we were able to, in addition to the greenhouse, build this state-of-the-art, or we were planning to build a state-of-the-art processing facility. And part of that is an area where we want to do research. So part of our partnership with Jefferson is to research strains, research what's actually helping people. What's causing the general conditions that people have to respond to medical marijuana. There's not a lot of study that's been done. It's been difficult to do in the U.S. Up until this point, which is one of the reasons we were interested in partnering with Jefferson.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Clapper?
About how many will it employ?
So When I'm speaking for us, I think we've talked about this before. Our specific facility is the one that's the MLH facility. There's another group that would like to partner, that would like to use the land also, PharmaCann. They did not receive a commercial license in the first round. They were disappointed. They're pursuing avenues to potentially obtain one. They're trying to partner with one of the academic medical schools as well, and that group at this point is waiting to see what happens. So when I'll talk from our perspective, it's just for our site. We're planning to employ approximately 50 people. It will be a combination of people that are actually doing the growing of the plants. There's processing jobs in terms of working with the processing, and then there's the jobs related to delivery and that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Good. Anything else?
I'm good right now, thank you.
Okay. Yes, go ahead, Ms. Bush, sure.
I meant to touch on this before. I just wanted to mention so it's not a surprise later. The architect is still working on the internal configuration of the building, the processing area versus the greenhouse area, and we got a new footprint from them last week. So the actual footprint on the building, as you see, is not probably exactly how it's going to be. We will make sure, obviously, it is on the correct plan as when it is recorded and before there's any construction plans, and we'll coordinate with Joe Jones and Jim Sullivan to make sure that there's not any issues that's not going to affect any of the site work. But all of the footprints that we've seen that are slightly different are all smaller than what is on the plan. And so all the stormwater design would stay the same, all the parking counts would all stay the same. So I don't really see any issues as far as affecting the any of the waivers that we would need or anything like that. I just wanted to mention that so it's not a surprise later if it's a little bit different.
Mr. Sullivan, any thoughts from you on that?
Well, depending on the difference between what we're approving tonight and what actually is they want to do, may require amended final, but we'll have to see when it comes in.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
And the plan you're submitting tonight, is your plan to eventually, this is approved, construct just the one facility, the MLH facility, and then potentially later on the second one? Or are you planning on building both of them at the same time and just hope for the best?
No, we're planning on just building ours for now, and PharmaCann, which would operate the other one, is hoping that they're able to, within a short period of time, secure a license and build that one as well.
Okay.
Just for MLH.
I mean, excuse me, at this point, you're looking for approval just for,
No, we're
you're
looking for
approval for the
approval.
entire site.
We're looking for approval for the entire site. It's the hope that they will obtain a license shortly, whether by means of, purchasing another license or obtaining a license in the next round. But we are going forward with the two buildings at this point.
Okay, but you'll have to get final approval for them separately. Your preliminary final approval tonight will be for the MLH, and you get preliminary only for the other side.
We've requested preliminary final for both and obtained recommendation on both in front of the Planning Commission.
You don't have a problem with that? Mr. Clark has no problem with that, so therefore neither do I.
But
Should we call Joe Jones, make sure he's all
You
right?
have to call Joe Jones on this. I'll get him on the phone.
everything will be based, moving forward, all of their building permits, everything else will be based on both buildings. This isn't a phased approach. This isn't being done separately. These are being approved together. Even if they only decide to build one, much of Mr. Sullivan's estimates regarding construction escrows and things along those lines will be based on both buildings being constructed.
Okay, is that Mr. Clapper, is that
So separate?
Go with that.
I'm confused.
built
No,
for one? and then-
they're asking for a preliminary and final on both. I don't see that as a problem. I think you can give them preliminary and final on both. They're planning on only constructing one in the beginning. And again, I don't see that's a problem, but since they're doing this as one land development approval, then everything is based on as if they are building the two at the same time. All of the permitting will be done on that. All of the infrastructure improvements will have to be done based on them building both buildings. So if there's something to do with the infrastructure, even though they may say, well, that's only going to be for the second building, which we're not doing at this moment, we're viewing this as one land development
So they
project.
would never get final approval.
No, they would.
Yeah, but I'm saying from a building aspect, from a building inspector, right?
No,
They're
they'd
only
be.
gonna build half the building.
No, I don't think I think they'll be able to get by that aspect of it. I think if they're building it, as in one of the buildings first and then the second building later on, I think they're
Not
okay.
separate permits, separate inspections?
No, but it'll have to be, we'll have to be mindful of that, and we'll have to work with the township staff on that issue. But as you know, because we've had this issue in the past, where people have come in, they've gotten approval on an entire site, and then they've said, well, we're only going to build it in phases. So we're not going to put in all the infrastructure. We're not going to put in all the roads. Because we're only building it in phases. And we have historically and consistently said, no, if you're doing it as one plan, you're going to do everything that's on the plan, even if you're not building both buildings at the same time. Or the three buildings at the
And
same time.
all the site work would have to be done.
Right.
All the site
I
improvements are
agree with
done.
that.
Yeah.
The buildings would be permitted separately,
Right.
one at a time. So you could have a CO
That's
for
what I'm
one
trying
building.
to say.
Yeah.
He's gonna get separate permits on a building.
Yeah,
Yes,
but,
that's
right.
correct.
Right.
All right.
But it's not, I apologize, I misunderstood. It's not separate approvals here.
No, I
It's
agree with
right,
that,
yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
I'm fine.
Okay. Is that all right with you? Does that make sense? Is it the route you want to take, or would you prefer to have only preliminary on the second phase tonight and then have to come back for final when you're ready to build
I
that?
don't think that's gonna make a difference to me. This is one application. This is one application.
You do it preliminary and then final, not final, up to the guy to come back and show you the second building.
Well,
You're-
at this point, we'll proceed with preliminary for the second building, and we'll come back for final on the second building, if that's.
Is that,
That's fine with me.
okay?
And in proceeding in that fashion, then the financial security wouldn't have to be posted for both.
Correct, and you could
buildings
phase
at
the
the same
utility
time.
work as well,
Yeah,
if necessary.
okay. That's probably better. Okay.
Yeah, just have to be done over again.
Okay. All right, so make sure the resolution reflects that and the change of the language,
We're gonna have to revise that and
okay?
get to the
So we could
applicant.
say development 10 year plans. Okay.
How the,
Yeah, we're gonna have to work.
I'm assuming also, I was wondering, do you have the fire marshal's letter from July 24th, 2017? It's a couple items he mentions.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, I have a copy here if you don't have it.
Yeah, I believe we have it.
We did actually receive that letter, and we did actually respond to those comments with the previous submission. So I think he did not receive the current plan, but we did address his comments, and we, I think it was a 44-foot long fire truck that we needed to show adequate circulation, and we did that.
Okay.
So
All right.
we're comfortable with that letter, and we can comply.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, so, public comment. See one hand, is there a motion to open public comment?
So moved?
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Batiste, you have to come up here. Sorry.
I was just wondering, what kind of pollution is going to be generated, including the use of insecticides, and then how will it affect water resources?
Yeah, I can speak to that.
You have to use the microphone, Mr. Clapper. You have to, otherwise you're not going to be on. Mrs., can you?
What's that?
make-
That's all I
make-
wanted to
yeah,
know.
No, I know. You have to make some space for him, that's all. So he can get in there.
That's a good question. So the use of insecticides and other pesticides are very limited by the state. So the majority of the control for bugs and for mold and other things are preventative or natural, all natural. In terms of the water usage, it's actually relatively small water usage. We have a fully recirculating system that we're creating, so water gets added in. There's some that you lose to evaporation, but there's not water that's just draining down through the plants and going going into the drains. It actually gets recirculated in the system and caught again, and it's treated and then recirculated through the system. So the water usage is relatively small.
And there's no air pollution of any kind? You're
No. What's that?
I see from the documents that it's actually going to use less than polysilicon used.
In terms of water
discharge,
usage?
yeah.
Yeah, significantly less, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? See no hands. Is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so this would be resolution 1722,
23.
23. 22.
Two, excuse me.
Yeah, 22. Granting preliminary and final to the MLH portion of this plan and preliminary only for the PharmaCann phase of this plan. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Okay, next item on the agenda is a Pensbury Manor waiver of land development. This is on Pensbury Memorial Road. Mr. Gray?
Yes, the applicant's proposed improvements consist of the demolition of an existing river barge house and construction of a new river barge house in a new location. Representing the applicant tonight is Mr. Carl Dress.
Good evening. As was mentioned, we are looking for final approval on a waiver of land development. The project includes the demolition of the existing river barge house, which is illustrated in green. The demolition is related to an overall master plan that's intended to open up the historic center and core of the site to view from the existing visitor center, and then reconstruction of the existing barge house in a new location. The barge house that will be constructed will be almost exactly as consistent with the existing barge house. So the existing barge house is dated to the 1960s. It's not original to the site, and therefore it's not part of the existing historic core. The proposed site is illustrated in yellow. The existing barge house you can see on the left of the board. So the existing barge house on the left, it's an open air structure, no mechanical systems, no plumbing systems, a limited number of lights, no doors. It's open on all four sides. We are reconstructing it in the same manner, wood siding, open on all sides, no mechanical, no plumbing, limited number of lights. The primary occupant of the river barge house is a 3/4 scale river barge.
Okay.
That's it.
It's pretty basic, pretty straightforward. Comments or questions for Mr. Dress?
No question.
No.
No? There's one very basic waiver, which is, notifying, requiring locations of streets, and that's not an issue. I don't really see any others. Is there any public comment? It's a pretty, this is an easy one, so. So, no public comment, no one's interested in public comment, which is understandable. So, this is resolution 1723.
23.
Okay, is there a motion to grant?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you.
It's a wonderful site. You should all come out and visit.
Oh, yeah,
We will.
yeah. Okay, item 6 is Britain Industries amended final plan. It's at 1 MY Lane. See no one here to present. I don't know if we've ever had this before.
We have not, and we were just having a discussion as to whether or not they ever signed the time limit waiver, and we are not sure if they did. We know that the applicant's engineer was not very receptive to the idea of signing the time limit waiver, so you can either, if you'd like, push this to the end of the agenda, or my recommendation would be that you deny it. We're not sure if we have any time left, so if you just move it to next month, if you just table it to next month, there may be a question about whether or not there's a deemed approval.
All right, well, why don't we move it to the end? We'll go through the rest of the agenda, and maybe someone shows up, and I don't know if Mr. Sullivan's trying to get a hold of
I
somebody.
tried to get hold of the applicant's engineer, who is unaware of it being on the agenda this evening. So he's going to contact their attorney and see if he is on his way or he's not coming tonight.
What was that?
I'm sorry, did I mumble?
No.
Perhaps I did. I've been accused of mumbling before. The applicant's engineer is going to try to get a hold of the attorney for the project and see if,
Who is the attorney?
Thomas Hecker, Esquire.
All right. Okay. All right, let's move on to number 7. Or 7 on my list anyway. Consider notice of intent to award the bid for the Vermilion Hills Park Footbridge Replacement Project. Mr. Gray, and you're going to talk a little bit and then kick it to Mr. Sullivan?
Sure, certainly. T&M has reviewed the bids submitted to Falls Township that were publicly opened on August 8th for the Vermilion Hills Footbridge Replacement Project. 2 bids were received. The first was ABC Construction for $166,455.68, and the second, Brightline Construction, $212,016. Based on the bid evaluation, ABC Construction is the lowest responsive bidder for the base bid of the footbridge replacement construction project. It is recommended that the Board of Supervisors authorize the Township Engineer's Office to issue a notice of intent to award to ABC Construction for the total bid cost of $166,455.68.
Okay. Mr. Sullivan?
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Yes, as Mr. Gray mentioned, this is for the installation of the footbridge. We've had this out to bid a couple of times. ABC is the lowest responsive bidder. I've had time to consult with them about their bid, since it's considerably higher than the first 2 we got the last time we bid this project. There's some conservatism in their bid. We're still continuing to negotiate. I'm pretty sure we can get it back down to where it belongs. So the grant money will cover this project and the fishing pier project. Unfortunately, I don't have a final number from ABC at this time, but we'll work on that during the responsible contractor evaluation review.
Okay.
If for some reason we can't come to a meeting of the minds, we can always reject the bid prior to final award.
Okay. This is obviously, I know people who live in Vermilion Hills, especially that part of Vermilion Hills where the footbridge is, are aware of the fact that it's been out of commission for some time now.
A long time.
Yeah, and it, real obviously for safety reasons, it was shut down. It was literally falling apart. There was an effort we looked into replacing it ourselves, and then realized that we could use county open space money, which would pay for 75% of the project, and we would just cover 25% of the project. But by doing that, you sort of start the clock over again, because you have to go through the process of working with the county to get access to that grant money. And so that took us some time, but it did go out to bid earlier this year, and the bids really did not come back, or came back with a contractor who could not pass our responsible contractors ordinance, which the township has worked with for about 12 years now, as a way of guaranteeing that the contractors we have doing work in the township are ones that are qualified to do the work and aren't just the lowest responsible or lowest bidder, which is the way, of course, the law in Pennsylvania is. We try to protect the taxpayers' money by making sure the people we're hiring meet certain qualifications and criteria and have the backgrounds and abilities to do this kinds of things with qualified workforce that can get it done in a timely, safe, and efficient manner. Unfortunately, the company couldn't meet that, and so we had to go out to bid again, and this is the second round. So it is something that we're working on. I know people have emailed me a couple times wondering, when's it coming in. I know the township manager has gotten some emails from residents about, wondering when the footbridge is going to be replaced. And so you're saying, Mr. Sullivan, that even though this bid is coming in 166,000 and change, you have the belief that working with them, this bid would go lower?
Yes, it will.
Okay. And if it doesn't, then we can just, in a month, then we can come back and say, never mind, we'll go out to bid again.
One of the major things, they assumed they had to come in from the 300-foot length side of the project when they can actually come in on the other side where we thought they'd come in. And that's a significant savings right there. It's about $20,000. So I'm sure we'll have a lower bid by the time we come for the finalization of the award.
Okay. All right, comments or questions for Mr. Sullivan?
What would be our reason for rejecting the bid, like, in the next couple of weeks? Because we don't like our new number?
If for some reason these negotiations kind of break down and they want to stick with this particular number, we can always exercise our option, go out to bids.
If it's too high, if you don't like the bid.
It's a notice of intent to award.
Yeah.
Once you award the bid, you can't do that, but since it's a notice of intent to award, we can do this.
And I guess it's just been such a frustrating experience trying to get this done. It's worth negotiating, right?
Absolutely.
So the notice to intent is to start the responsible contractor period?
Yes.
The review period?
Yes.
So a yes vote tonight would only be for that, not for the amount of money?
That is correct.
How much do we budget again?
95,000 for this?
So the
90,000?
open space money, will we get more open space money, or?
Between the two projects, this one and the fishing pier, we had a total of about $310,000, plus or minus. And we're going to get both of those projects in within that budget or very close to it.
Good, thanks.
Okay. All right, public comment? See no hands. Okay, is there a motion then to authorize Township Engineer's Office to issue a notice of intent to award to ABC Construction for the for the Vermilion Hills Footbridge project in the amount of $166,455.68?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, item number 8 is actually going to change the language a little bit. Is consider awarding the bid for the 2017 Falls Township Road Improvement Program landscaping restoration. Mr. Gray.
Yes. At the June meeting, the Board of Supervisors authorized a notice of intent to award to Bustleton Services to complete the landscape services for the 2017 road program on Walton Drive. Bustleton has successfully completed the RCO, and at this time, the board is asked to consider finalizing the award for this service.
All right. Comments or questions for Mr. Sullivan?
No questions.
Nothing.
Mr. Sullivan, I know we did have concerns from some residents who had some issues with this contractor and thought it might be best if we didn't retain their services again. Can you comment on that at all?
They are the contractor for the Holly Drive landscaping restoration. That has been a struggle through this year. They did fairly well in the fall, in the spring, I mean, before it could all be well established. Poor weather hit, and they've been struggling all throughout the summer to get this to a point where it's going to be acceptable to us. They have a plan. They've been exercising it off and on. We have performance bond with them, and they have to perform, or they will, they're not going to get paid whatever we owe them at this point. They are a responsible contractor in accordance with our ordinance. They were the lowest bid, so I'm not sure we have a choice to throw them out at this point because we have not put them in default, nor have determined that they are not responsible.
Okay. Had they worked with us before?
They've
For
been,
Howley?
They have been the contractor for both JDM and General Asphalt over the years. They've done some things very well and some things, just okay.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or questions from board members?
No.
Okay. Any public comment? See no hands. Okay, is there a motion then to award the bid for the 2017 Falls Township Road Improvement Program landscaping restoration to Bustleton Landscape Services?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll just make sure we watch them pretty closely. See, our staff is occupied at the moment. No word yet from anybody from...
Mr. Harvey, the words I've gotten are, they're not coming.
And I emailed Tom Hecker, and he was not aware that they were on the agenda this evening. We're trying to figure out where the glitch happened, but we're not sure why. It seems as if he got an email, but something may have gone wrong with that email, so we're trying to figure that out. So I've just asked Mr. Hecker if he'll give us
An extension.
Permission to the September meeting, so I'm waiting to hear back from him.
Okay, all right, we can move on with the minutes here. Minutes from July 18th, 2017. Comments or questions? Corrections, suggestions?
Excellent minutes, of course. Somebody has to, right?
Okay, if there are no comments or corrections, is there a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Sullivan, you're back up. Engineers report.
Thank you again, Mr. Harvey. For the 2017 road program, the major storm sewer work should be completed by the end of this week on Walton Drive. That's followed by under drain for the roadway, and then curb work will begin on the even side of the roadway in about 2 weeks. Again, it's expected for that program to wrap up and be fairly well completed toward the end of September, at which time Bustleton Services will do all the landscape work. For the Vermilion Hills Open Space, we're again looking at a delay due to heavy weather and poor soil conditions over there. So we're going to say they're going to start on August 21st, and hopefully this time we meet it. And that's about all I have that's going on in the township as far as the capital work goes.
Okay. All right, comments or questions for the engineer?
No questions.
Okay. I don't have anything either. All right, is there a motion to accept the engineer's report as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Next is the bill list for this month. Looking at a bill list of $1,688,440.98. Of that, roughly 1.7 million, 1.3 million of the 1.7 is salary and benefits. An additional, actually a little more than that, and then about another 70,000 is either escrow funds or state funds. Included in there also is the road program, which is about $300,000. So it's usually a couple things. It's always a big number, but it usually just boils down to salary benefits are a huge part of it, and then just a few other things that make it up, and then there's a lot of small things that fill out the total number. Any comments or questions for the manager?
No questions.
Okay. Is there a motion then to pay the bills, $1,688,440.98?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Brasky?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes. Okay. All right. Executive session, I actually did have an executive session brief one earlier before the meeting. I forgot to ask for the solicitor to give us a summary on that.
Yes, Mr. Harvey, during the earlier executive session, the board discussed a personnel matter, a matter of potential litigation, and a matter involving collective bargaining. And while I have the microphone close to me, the board can make a motion to table Britain Industries to our September meeting. I've gotten confirmation from the applicant's attorney that they will agree to continue it until September.
Okay. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. All right, so put that aside. All right. Chief?
Mr. Harvey, members of the board, our staff. First of all, I'd like to thank Henry Ward, who was going to fill in for me tonight. The meeting I had scheduled at Middletown got over early, and it concerned helping Chief Bartarello out with a situation that he asked us to help him with. With that being said, we have a very small agenda tonight. Our traffic enforcement program is continuing. We're presently hitting Route 1, Route 13, and Business Route 1 very hard. It seems to be very successful. We're slowing down traffic. We see a considerable reduction in accident investigations, so I'm very happy with that. Also, our drug enforcement in conjunction with the District Attorney's Office is working very well. I would like to see more people getting involved in Push Out the Pusher program with Mr. Galloway's office there. Anybody who happens to see this on the TV, if they're hesitating, please get involved. It's very important and it's working very well. And the signage we have in our office area, they can pick up a sign there. The other thing that we have here is next month I'm going to come to you with a new program that we have. It'll have to, God bless you. It'll do with us processing prisoners. We have a new program that Ben Salem has under operation. We've worked with the District Attorney's Office and with Levittown Rescue Squad, where if somebody is arrested for driving under the influence, they will be processed at our headquarters. No longer will we go to take them to Aria Hospital. Blood draws will be done right here at the station. And you may ask, why are we doing that? Well, it's one stop here, one stop at the police station here. We'll do the blood draw here. We won't have to transport prisoners to and from the hospital, lessening the chances of some altercation happening between here and the hospital. It streamlines the whole system. It works very well. We'll be able to do video arrangements, the blood draw, and everything taking place here, thereby cutting out numerous hours of processing for prisoners. It's been in the development stage. It's proven. Ben Salem is doing it. It's working very well. And I'd like to thank the Levittown Fairless Hills Rescue Squad. They've embraced the program also. I just spoke with Lieutenant Whitney today, and it should be up and running in October. That's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Just, hold on, Chief. Any questions for the Chief?
No, that on-site processing just sounds terrific.
It's Mr. Galloway, it'll really help, and it'll lessen the chances of an officer getting hurt between here and taking him back and forth to the hospital. Yes.
I was going to say, wasn't the situation a few years ago at St. Mary's? There was a Newtown Borough or Township police officer who was killed.
Newtown Borough.
And I think that he was transporting someone who was picked up for DUI?
Yes, he bought somebody for that, and he was able to get his weapon, and ultimately it cost him his life.
Yeah,
and we
right.
certainly
That's
lessen the chances for that happening.
Absolutely, sure.
It's kind of one-stop shopping. Everything will be done here.
Right.
Thank you.
Chief, just one thing.
Sure.
Just a couple of people asked about the officer that was in the accident by Best Buy last month or month before that. How's she
She's doing very well. She's recuperating very good. There is some complications she may have some complications as a result of the accident, and she's dealing with them. But she's in good spirits, and she's doing very well.
Okay.
Thank you for asking.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Manager comment.
Yes, just a few items tonight. First item is in regard to a letter received from Mr. Tom Hecker regarding a waiver of land development plan for the Gardee Group or Big Bear. They are located at 925 Lincoln Highway. This project is set to expire on September 15th. They are requesting an extension until December 15th, 2017. Board's asked to consider this extension.
Is there a motion to grant the extension?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Township received a letter from Mr. Sullivan dated August 2nd regarding escrow release number 10 for Morrisville Commons. In his letter, he is recommending an escrow release of $25,654.50. The board is asked to consider this release.
Okay, comments or questions?
No questions.
Okay, is there a motion then to grant the escrow release number 10, Morrisville Commons, in the amount of $25,654.50?
So moved?
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Bransky?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
And finally, I just want to announce a few businesses that opened operations in the township during the month of July. They include Limbeck USA LLC, located at 420 Lincoln Highway, Fog City Vapor 2, located at 8919 New Falls Road, Urcos, located at 364 West Trenton Avenue, and Angel Mark Associates, located at 225 Lincoln Highway. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. All right, board comment, Mr. Galloway?
Just one thing on that YMCA. As a neighbor of the proposed area that they're looking at, I'm very concerned, and I look forward to hearing their presentation next month. And other than that, enjoy the rest of your summer.
No? Okay, and I'll echo, Mr. Galloway's sentiments on, coming to the end of summer, which, teachers and kids are not happy about, but parents usually are, because they don't have to deal with the kids anymore. So, best wishes for a safe summer. We've been dodging. I know I'm going to get, if we start getting a heat wave, I'm going to get, hammered for jinxing it, but we've had a pretty good summer so far in terms of heat, so let's just hope that, hope it stays that way. I want to thank Mr. Gray for, when we started this thing a couple years ago, Mr. Dents really did, talking about live here, spend here, and encouraging people who live in Falls Township to try and patronize the stores of Falls Township and spend your money here, helping out small businesses here, because it obviously helps us, it helps our neighbors, helps our community, and notifying the residents of new businesses that are open and doing a business directory, something that he's been doing now for several months. So I appreciate his support with that. And with that, I'll thank our staff for a good meeting and entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.